the one and the only Zack Heydorn joins me now. How you doing, Zack?
Oh, what's going on, Joel? I'm doing good. It's been quite the weekend. I came in right at the right time with the CM cake stuff with Jeremy. Boy, oh boy, you guys are getting after it this Monday morning.
Hey, we got to start our mornings hot. We're on the main channel. We got to do whatever we can to pull the viewership. Sometimes you just got to put a little egg and cake on your face. That's just
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me. It's always great to join you guys, and I'm really glad to be here.
Well, Jeremy's going to join us in a few minutes. He's just going to get himself somewhat cleaned up. I don't know what the plan is. He's got that's a home Jeremy problem. So where do we want to start? You were in Chicago. You are in Chicago. You live in Chicago, or at least outside Chicago. Regardless, you were at all the AEW shows. I see the freelance hat. You were probably at the freelance show as well.
Yes.
Give me your 2-3 word answer for how this week was for you as a fan.
Really freaking busy. That's how I would say it. But really fun at the same time. I mean, you get I'm lucky to have this event in my backyard here, and it's a maximum 40-minute drive to really any of the shows. And so I was able to take in some really good wrestling, some really different kinds of shows. See a lot of the current big stars, but then some up and comers and some folks that are grinding it out on the indie scene too. And so it was really cool to be able to do that and catch everything. And you're kind of course running from place to place, venue to venue, but yeah, I mean it's fun to see people applying their trade and doing their art in front of folks, big crowds, small crowds, and everything in between. So it was a blast.
Talk to me about CM Punk. He was terminated, let go from AEW on Saturday. We found out in the afternoon, just hours before AEW Collision at the United Center. You attended Dynamite as well at the Now Arena. What was the feeling going from Wednesday at Now Arena, when it was still kind of a question whether or not CM Punk was going to be a part of AEW at all, to Saturday night at the United Center when people found out that Punk is gone, and Tony Khan had even addressed the fans in attendance as well?
Man, you know what? At Dynamite at the Now Arena was depressing. It was depressing. I remember I walked in and I was like, are we at a wrestling show, or are we at some kind of work conference where everybody's walking around on eggshells? Dynamite felt like a fan base that was tired, that knew there was backstage stuff going on, was just coming off of All In from the previous weekend, just days before, and just tired. They really did. I remember looking around being like, man, there's absolutely no energy in this building right now. And that really stuck with me. I walked out of there going, oh man, they've got a big uphill climb, because between that day and Sunday, there's StarCast, tons of independent shows. All these wrestling fans are going to be doing all this wrestling stuff. And already on Wednesday, day one, they're exhausted. So that stuck with me. But then, when we got to Saturday inside the United Center and the news about CM Punk broke, and people kind of had that definitive, okay, he's not going to be here. We need to get on with our weekend and on with our show. I think that helped energize things, to be completely frank. I think putting that, just being able to discard that story and get on with the weekend helped a lot. Tony Khan doing that little sit down thing at the beginning of the show in front of the live audience on Saturday night, I think was risky because you didn't know how people would react. And obviously there's a good chunk of the audience that was CM Punk apologists, if you will, or just fans. And Tony Khan had a hand in really turning the tide with Punk. I think sitting there and telling the story and being as passionate as he was, whether it was a put on or not, it doesn't, I suppose it doesn't really matter, because I think, after he told the story about what happened and how, upset he was about it, but it was how it was the right thing. And I think he flipped a lot of fans that were like maybe ready to go in there and rebel to, well, yeah, maybe you can't be a 40-plus-year-old man doing that kind of thing backstage, and maybe let's get on with things. And so that really helped. And so I think it, like, from Dynamite to Collision, an increase in energy, and then by the time we got to the pay-per-view, I think people were ready to just see this roster go out there and just kill it, and they did. And so the sense I got walking out last night was that everybody was very happy with how the night went and the show that they watched, drama aside.
I'm going to bring Jeremy Lambert back in because he is back with a lot of cake on his face. But Jeremy,
What's up, Jeremy?
Hi, Zach. Sorry that you've joined us on this particular show for this particular day. You did professional work this week, and then here you are with us and me having look like this all show. So, but thank you for being here.
Is it bad that cake looks delicious right now?
It was very good. I will say it's probably like a week old at this point. So as it drips down, but the wife made it, and it was very good when it was edible. And now I don't think anybody wants to. All right, it's just going to continue to drip. There we go. Okay, I don't think anybody wants it now.
You look great, Jeremy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jeremy. I don't know if you have a question for Zach to kick this off, but we were just talking about the difference between Wednesday and Saturday's show, just the feeling, and of course the Punk news dropping on Saturday as well, and how that all affected the audience.
Yeah, I heard you talking about how Tony Khan came out there and then addressed the audience on Collision and kind of changed things around and turned things into his favor. Because I don't know if anybody really expected that. I didn't expect Collision to open with the video that it opened with, where he addressed it either. So that was honestly a nice surprise. And then the press conference, he was asked a little bit about it, but didn't get too much into it. As far as, let's get into All Out a little bit. I think a lot of people didn't have high expectations for it. And then by the end of it, I think everybody can agree it was one of the best shows of the year. What were your expectations for All Out? And then after the Punk news, what were your expectations? And then what do you think of the show overall?
So going into the show, I was, pretty just critically down on what they put together, just because, you're asking people to shell out $50 after shelling out $50 last week. And you've got your two top stars in MJF and Adam Cole in a, throwaway tag team match for the ROH titles. Soraya's not wrestling, and Sting's not on the card, and and so it just, the Bucks are kind of in an 8-person tag match. So it's like, it just kind of felt like, all right, like, I know that things happened, and you're kind of stuck, but I still felt that you wanted to put a better foot forward in building this thing, even if you only have a week. And so I thought they kind of missed on that. Once they announced Bryan Danielson for the show, like, I thought to myself, okay, that this card needed that badly. Like, it needed like some tip top surprise level star power to kind of just help pull the card up to pay-per-view level, so to speak. And so I thought he did a really great job of that, and that was a smart call. And I think it just emphasizes just how important like star power is. Like, if you forgot for some reason, wrestling's still a star business, and the Danielson edition I think really helped. Once Sunday came around though, and I was sitting at the bar before the show, just waiting to go in and having some drinks with some people, it was like, okay, like, you're going to go see an AEW show now, and it's going to be a pretty darn good show. Like, they don't miss, as usually, when it comes time to actually deliver like a pay-per-view quality show. And I don't think that's something that, if you're Tony Khan, you want to lean on like as a business practice, with no question, because you want people to buy the pay-per-views. But I think once you got past like, all right, the car's been built and they're going to go live in an hour, my anticipation was pretty high for like watching some of this stuff, and it turned out to be very, very good. So again, I wouldn't make it a business practice to not build your pay-per-view because your wrestlers can deliver. But in this instance, given the circumstances, he leaned on the talent, and the talent came through big time.
Did it feel going into the show from others that there was kind of this feeling of like, we're just here for a show, and then everything kind of turned around with the work being done? Or was it just kind of hot the whole way through and people just kind of trusted the process all the way?
No, I think people, like a lot of people, the sentiment was more like me. Like everybody could recognize, all right, this is like on paper, like not a pay-per-view or like level card necessarily. But at the same time, they already had their ticket, and so they're going to go in and just try to enjoy themselves. And I think that's exactly what happened.
What'd you make of the crowd, really both nights? Because I think a lot of people were expecting the CM Punk chance, the CM Punk takeover, everything, and it really didn't happen. So what'd you make of the crowd both nights for the show?
The CM Punk stuff was crazy. Like, I mean, outside of when the Young Bucks were out there, because it got a little rowdy at that time. Like, so, I would say that when they were out wrestling or out there during Collision, there was a heightened sense of like CM Punk positivity for some reason. But at any other time throughout the show, when there'd be just even like a hint of a CM Punk chant, it was immediately drowned out by boos. And that, I mean, is unheard of in this city, especially like, CM Punk chants have been like the chant to do for, disdain for the wrestling product that you're watching for almost 10 years now. And so to hear that chant in Chicago, of all places, get drowned out was pretty amazing. And I think telling that just how tired people are of that whole thing. And, just kind of recognizing that, dude, can you, just stop shooting yourself in the foot, over and over and over and over and over again. And your hometown is now, they may not be against you, but they're not like, openly like rallying to your side either. So that was a big surprise. The pay-per-view crowd I thought was a really good crowd. Like they normally with a long AEW, and you guys can tell me better probably watching from home, but in the building, it didn't seem like you had like that lull time of the show where like the crowd got tired, even if they were into it, they just weren't as hot, as at the end of the show as they were at the beginning. But I didn't get that sense being in there this time. Like everything was they were into these things, into these matches straight away. And, even the main event. So I think that stood out as that the card maybe not was where they wanted it to be, but the wrestling was good enough to hook people for all nearly 4 hours of the show. So that was an interesting point too. Did it come across that way on TV?
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh yeah, I thought it did. I think the only real lulls were it started with Miro and Hobbs, but then once the meat chance got in,
right,
everything picked up in that match from there. Maybe a little in Ruby and Statlander. Otherwise, I thought it was a well-paced, well-positioned show from start to finish, and I can't remember any real lull on anything, honestly.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like to me too. Yeah.
I have a similar sentiment. Like me personally, I'm up, early in the morning. So I started getting tired by around 11 o'clock Eastern, but you know that the show is going to end by 11:45 and you just prepare for that. And they went off the air at the right time. The shows are pretty typically the same run time. Unless it's Forbidden Door that went longer back in June, but typically AEW puts on a 4-hour pay-per-view and you just know to plan for that. Speaking of meat-based chants, now that CM Punk is out, you being from Chicago, are you gonna join the meat-based chants? Are you gonna promote the meat-based chants here on out?
That was crazy too. I for a while I was like, what are they chanting? And then I was like, are they chanting about meat? Man, what a weird city. But it made it hard to like judge the match. I was like, is this match actually good, or do people just really want to chant meat at stuff? So I can't really tell.
I know Jeremy and I are going to break this down a little bit later, but I will say this. It felt like the crowd was very into the match, but they also are well aware now, at least more than ever, that this is going to continue. The story has legs, and it probably has more meat to pick off the bone.
Yeah, for sure. And my guess is that there's a T-shirt on the way for both those guys that they're gonna make some nice royalties on. Or at least hopefully they will.
Assuming WWE and Big E don't have those locked up in the trademark departments.
Yes, that pesky Vince probably went online immediately and filed to trademark that thing.
Just lying in bed watching the AEW product. That's what he has to do.
That totally sounds like him, doesn't it?
I think the only other kind of lull was maybe the tag team match, Eddie and Shibata against Claudio and Yuta. Not that the crowd like wasn't into it, but compared to the rest of the show, you could tell it was down a little bit. And I think most people wanted to see Eddie win, and then him losing to a European uppercut did not sit well with everyone. And I know Joel is going to say final battle's the moment,
Well,
and it.
It's not even that. It's that match came right after an incredible strap match.
It did, yeah.
Very invested in. So
yes,
I understand completely what was going on in the moment, but it's good.
And that was like again, this is where it was well paced, well positioned of like, okay, you got this incredible stat match. Let's just kind of do a, for lack of a better term, meat and potatoes tag team match, and then bring it back up again with Omega and Takeshita. Like, I think that was a by design kind of thing. And so it's where just it came down to, I thought the pacing and everything was really good throughout the show. Zach, I do want to ask you about kind of your overall weekend, sort of moving away from AEW a little bit, but I saw you did some interviews. I saw Nick Wayne was one of them. Nick Gage was another one. How was your StarCast experience?
StarCast was fun, man. It was really fun. It was a different experience this time than the last two here. Just I think a little more tempered. I mean, I think that there's an element of I don't want to say the town burnt out, but like, burning out possibly. Like, it just was a little, you didn't have that rabid, like, rock star environment, when these guys are walking through, the lines weren't as long, just the overall, the stage shows, the ones that they had were excellent, but just not like filled with star power like they had been before. So again, it was a really fun weekend, and I think Conrad and the team and everybody over there just did a really nice job organizing everything, and getting the media access what they needed access to. I just think that it was just a little tempered, just a little like less energetic than previous StarCasts. But hey, if you're there, that may be a good thing. I don't have to wait in line to meet John Moxley. Like, awesome. Like, let's do it. So, it's all a matter of perspective, right? The talent, as usual, was, tremendous. And I think that they, to a person, kind of knew their job there is to sign for fans and to be accessible, because that's kind of the name of the game at StarCast is, it's fan access to you. And everybody that I saw was really great. Adam Cole was fantastic. I wrote, a little piece for our Breastring Media members on talking with him and watching him interact with fans. He was great. John Moxley was, it's just so interesting to watch, because you gotta know John Moxley. He's reserved, and then you see him interact with an 8-year-old kid who's like decked out in like John Moxley stuff, the black jeans, the leather coat, and it's just fun to see him do that. And the people that I talked to, Nick Wayne was really forthcoming with like the differences between this year and last year. Nick Gage was Nick Gage. I mean, exactly what you'd think a Nick Gage interview would sound like is exactly what this one sounds like. You can check that out at SEScoops on Twitter or on YouTube, and I talked to RVD as well, and he was a blast to talk to, and a host of other people. But it was a really fun weekend. It was really fun, and it's always cool, when you get wrestling fans all together, pulling on the same rope of being interested in this stuff. And even though, again, it was a little bit of a slower StarCast, it still served that purpose, I think, really, really well. So, props to the Conrad and the team. It was a lot of fun.
I want to be respectful of your time because I know you've got some other stuff to take care of and deal with. Did you have a chance to go to the post-show press conference last night?
So I did not go. We divided and conquered with at SEScoops, and so we had other representation there. But I was the guy behind the scenes pulling the news stories out of that conference, out of the press conference. But I did watch it, and the one note that I would have, again, not being there, but I thought, and I noted this on Twitter too last night. I thought it was Tony Khan's best media scrum yet. Like, I think that he didn't just look the part because he had a suit on, but I think he seemed really excited about what had happened, and I think that helped. He also seemed like in control, and he answered what he could answer. He didn't have this like kind of look of panic, in his eye, like he has at other post pay-per-view media scrums. Not even just All Out last year, but like there's been other pay-per-view scrums where you're like, this guy is very, very stressed. And here he was in control, giving answers, being forthcoming. And so I thought, and more than anything else, like seeming to be ready to move on, ready to move forward, whatever that means, like without CM Punk, without the drama, without trying to figure out a way to fit him in to, the show. He talked about Jack Perry and how he's been indefinitely suspended too. So, I think he did his best to say what he could to kind of get the story out there and then move on. And I think that, if that Tony Khan shows up more, and if this situation, taught him a little bit on how to like lead a locker room and lead a pro wrestling company, that, it'll be a tough price to pay, but, a good one in the end.
Joel just wanted to ask if there was any water at the media scrum. That's all he wanted to know.
So much water. Much water, man. I mean, you guys saw it. He just kept filling. It was like a never-ending water bottle.
Yeah, but what about the people in the audience?
The media members. Joel wants to make sure the media members are taken care of.
They need to be hydrated. It's very important. We're talking too.
Yeah, it's true. But you know what? I can't speak to that. No comment on the water.
Zach, we appreciate you joining us this morning. I know it was a busy weekend for you. I know you were up late. I saw your tweets at 3:30 a.m. when I was also up as well. So it was a busy weekend for a lot of us, and you are on the ground there in Chicago. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Look, guys, thank you so much for having me. It's always great to talk wrestling with you. Happy to do it. Always enjoy my time here. You can follow me on Twitter at Zack_Heydorn. It's right there. And you can also follow our new project. It's called Brass Ring Media. You can check us out on Twitter at BrassRing_media for wrestling conversation like we just had. We've got a newsletter that is updated regularly with stories and columns from a host of different people. And you can subscribe for free there. And also, if you want to just get the whole Brass Ring Media experience with this and exclusive shows, exclusive podcasts, exclusive YouTube content and videos, and access to what has become a really fun Discord environment, you can find us on Patreon. It's $4 a month for everything. So a pretty good deal. And we will make sure to earn that $4. So give us a shot. Search Brass Ring Media on Patreon.
Zach, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time. And we're going to do it again. There's always so much to talk about. Me, I always appreciate when you're on.
Awesome.
Thanks,
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, man.